Alright, what is going on, everybody? Hope y'all are having a good day. My day's been alright, but I'm going to be telling another story time today, and this one's a pretty crazy one, pretty funny one, pretty all of the above, or whatever you want to say. And yeah, I think you all are going to enjoy it, so let's just get right into it. So, this story time takes place when I was 17 years old in the year 2023. Now, I absolutely hated 2023, easily one of the worst years of my life for multiple reasons. This story time also being a reason as to why it was pretty bad, but there's more to it. If you want me to tell more stories regarding that year, I'll be happy to do so. But anyways, this happened when I was in grade 12, like during my last year of high school, although it does have some traces of it leading back to grade 11. Now, this story starts off with a very, very heartbroken me just getting ready for school like I always do, like spending my that's how I would spend my day by day is just heartbroken, going to school, and then fucking just fucking off, and then going about my day and whatever. Right? It got so bad till at one point where I literally stopped talking to my teachers. Or like normally I would visit my teachers from my old classes and I would say hi and whatever. It got to a point where I completely stopped that and I was just in my own head. I remember at one point my religion teacher from like grade 10 to and 11, she's like, Kabir, what's going on? You don't come by and visit me all that much. Or what's going on? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just going through a really bad heartbreak. And she was like, oh, like a breakup? Now, let me pause for a second. This wasn't necessarily like a breakup, and I know what you guys are thinking. Oh, but how can you be heartbroken if you never dated the girl? How could you be heartbroken from just someone that was never your girlfriend? Well, you'd be surprised. For me, heartbreak hurts me more than anything. It like for me, in my opinion, it could come in multiple ways: rejection, getting played, fucking getting stood up, or I don't know about that one, but there's multiple ways to hurt somebody, especially like me. So I was just like, oh, it's not really a breakup, but there's more to it. And then she's like, oh, well, I'm so sorry to hear that. Do you think you'll be okay? And I'm like, I think I'll be fine. And then yeah, that's how that happened. But I remember I went into class, or this was, and then fast forward when I was in like grade 12. Um, this was like early in the year, so it was still like early in the semester, so it was like October or November or something like that. I remember I was just so sad and like so in my head that I didn't even listen to what my religion teacher at the time was talking about. I had a different one, by the way. We're just gonna call this guy Mr. Adams, alright? So, and then I had my head down in class, just like being all sad about it. I remember Mr. Adams came up to me, and he whispered to me, he was like, "Hey, buddy, are you okay?" I'm just like, "No, not really. I'm just having a really, really bad time." And he was like, "Oh, well, if you want after class, we could talk about it. You could talk to me, tell me what's going on." I'm just like, okay. Because at that point, I'd rather take that over just like sulk and sadness about it. But yeah, then after class, I remember I went up to Mr. Adams, and then after he was just like, and then he was like, all right, buddy, so tell me, what is going on? Why are you feeling this way? And I told him about like the whole situation, about why I was heartbroken and like the girl and whatever. And he was asking like who the girl was, like what her name was, and like I told him. And then after he was like, "Well, listen, high school is stupid when it comes to relationships, and right now, just off of seeing how you speak, you don't deserve this. You deserve way better. You're a good-looking guy. You have really nice hair. You have such a great way with words. You deserve way better. Forget about high school. High school is stupid. You're gonna find someone way better, and you're gonna look back and think, oh, what was I thinking?" And that was some really nice things that he said. It's not always often that a teacher comes up and tells you that stuff. But after that, that's how me and Mr. Adams actually became really cool, for a student and teacher type of bond. And yeah, I remember like sometimes when I would pass by him in class and whatever, or I'd pass by him in the hallway, he would be like, "Hey, buddy, are you feeling any better?" And he would just check up on me. And sometimes he would be like, "Oh, that cologne smells really, really good. What is it?" And I would sometimes just tell him what cologne I'm wearing, and we would just talk about cologne and like have like a conversation about things in general. Anyways, in my religion class, there's this one dickhead that I absolutely fucking hated. We're just gonna call this kid John, alright? So John was a dickhead. He would always just fucking mess with you, especially if there was girls around, and try to seem like the tougher guy, and always try to like fucking. He would always just try to low bro you, and you would think this guy had anger problems. Like you would think he had like a fucking chemical imbalance in his body or something. And around this time, he was actually pretty good friends with the girl that fucked me over at this time. So I always tried to stay away from John, but he was in majority of my classes this semester. Couldn't avoid him, but he would always come near me, always try and fuck with me, and it would just get annoying. If someone is doing this to you, I advise you go tell someone. But me, I just didn't, and I remember at one point I decided to just like try and bite my tongue and try to just find ways to move past John's bullshit. And there came this one moment. So I had a friend that lives in the States, or he was like kind of like a friend, like I talk to him sometimes. We're just gonna call this guy Ben. Alright. So Ben was or I told Ben about a lot of stuff that went around in high school, like around a lot about problems and people that had problems with me, and I would tell him about it and whatever. So I told Ben a lot about John. Alright, so there came this one point where he decided to fuck with John, and they were like talking shit back and forth, and despite John not even knowing who he was, and not even knowing where he lives or his whereabouts, and it got to a point where, what's it called? It got to a point where Ben found out about where John lives and decided to order pizzas to him. And when he was doing this, he decided to use a burner number so that way they would contact his burner number so he could confirm and be like, yes, I ordered the pizzas, even though John never ordered them. So this led to some very bad things later, and you're going to find that out real quick. So after Ben ordering a couple pizzas to John, Ben ends up receiving a lot of voicemails and whatever from John's family threatening him, saying that if they keep ordering pizzas, they're going to call the police and get people involved and things of that nature. And Ben saw this as an opportunity to do some fuck shit. So because I used to talk to Ben a lot about John, and I would send him pictures like what he looks like because he asked. He grabbed one of his photos, wrote over the photo, "I showed you my dick, please answer me," and he saved it. And then he fucking got a picture of someone's penis, and then he sends it to fucking John's mom, and the photo of him saying, "I showed you my dick, please respond," so it could seem believable. And then he writes over it, or he writes, what's it called? As a message, he writes under the images, "What kind of degenerate mother raises a son like this?" And I already knew this was going to start problems and that I was going to get involved real soon, or they're going to involve me. And sure enough, I get called down to the principal's office when I go to school, because this all happened while I was in class, by the way. And when I go down there, John's younger brother, who was like 2 years younger than me, he started like shoving me and getting like fucking angry at me, and there was a whole crowd there. It looked like a fight was about to break out or something. He was like pushing me, and the vice principal was there to luckily stop it. And even John himself was like, "Stop! It's not him! It's not him! He's not doing it!" And eventually, I go inside the vice principal's office. They asked me like what was happening. I told them everything, and then they wanted proof that I was not involved, in which I showed everything. And then they believed me, but they believed because of the problems that happened today, like me getting shoved around and whatever, they thought it'd be best to send me home. And so I did. I got sent home, and then, what's it called? John ends up messaging me later, like fucking accusing me of the shit that happened, even though earlier he said it was not me. He believed that I was involved, or like I told him to do it. So he kept blaming me, all this shit, saying like I should be glad that he stopped his brother from attacking me or blah 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 whatever. It just became a whole ass argument, and arguing with this guy was fucking hard as hell. He was just, like I said, he was just one of those people you believed had a chemical imbalance or something. And I don't say that about a lot of people, but this guy was a dickhead. I could probably tell you about like 10 stories about this guy John. But anyways, and then John ends up texting like every one of my friends, asking if they know who Ben is, what's his real name, and like where does he live and things like that. And with the information he gathered, he ended up getting his real name, and then he ends up telling my vice principal. And the next day, I get called to the vice principal's office, and then she starts asking me about it, and like if I know who John is. Again, I just said like no, and yeah, it was just kind of like rinse and repeat. She would just talk to me for a bit. I would give her my side of everything, and then I would just be like sent home or whatever. And in class, in religion class, Mr. Adams, he ended up noticing that John has a problem with me. Because John is whispering to me like, "You're a bitch, you're a pussy, you're this and that, you're this, that." And then and then Mr. Adams, he was wondering, he was like, "Why? What is going on, boys? What's happening?" And then I'm like, "Mr. Adams, he's accusing me of something that happened with his family. I had no part in it, and he has no proof that I did it." And then he was like, "You're fucking lying. You do have something to do with it. I'm gonna find out. Oh, this and that." And then Mr. Adams ended up kicking out John, and then I'm assuming he told my principal about this, or my vice principal, because I remember that same day I get called down to the vice principal's office, and they hand me like a class, like a weekly like classroom like timetable, where basically I go to guidance one day, John goes the other day, or like the other period, because they thought that if we were together, problems are gonna start. So they wanted to like separate us for a week until they can see what another solution. And with this going on, John would keep trying to message me, keep trying to start shit over and over again. And eventually it got to a point where I just decided to fucking ignore him entirely. Like I would like he can message me all he wanted, but I would just stop responding at one point. And I remember after this whole timetable shit was over, me and John, we were in the same entrepreneurship class, and I waited for everybody to leave, and just so that way John wouldn't start some shit with me, because I didn't want to like fight him or anything. But there was no way I could have stopped that. Like, there was no way my words could have stopped him from fighting me if that was the case. So, and then it got to a point where my teacher was like, "Kabir, you're not leaving?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just waiting for everyone to leave, and especially John, because I think he's gonna like start a problem with me." Then he was like, "Why? What happened?" And I told my teacher everything, but little did I know, I just fucking, I guess I started another problem again, because John heard this. He got into the classroom. He was like, "Can you stop fucking talking about me? Like, get off my dick. I'm not fucking following you. Just get the fuck out of my life." And then he kicked the chair. Then my entrepreneurship teacher, he was trying to get him to fucking chill out and stop and whatever. And then he goes downstairs, or after John was fucking done crashing out and he got kicked out. My teacher goes downstairs and tells my vice principal about what just happened. And sure enough, I get called down again. And my vice principal asked me what happened. And I explained to her everything. But one thing I did not like about my vice principal, she just always fucking cared about the little things too much and fucking always tried to blame you for the little shit. So while I was talking to her, apparently my teacher mentioned to her that I mentioned that John was following me, and in a way, I believe this was true. Like, this was the case. Like, I always felt like this guy, he was just trying to have his way privately, so that no witnesses would see it. And she was like, "You see, you started a problem. You said he was following you. He wasn't. And then look what happened." And I was fucking pissed off. But you know what? I don't even remember too much about what I said. I just know that I had a pretty reasonable crash out, I believe. Or I don't know if I crashed out, but I just know that I was pretty annoyed at the fact that she was just looking too much into it. And yeah. Now after this, John would still have some interactions with me, and he would still try to fucking get me to go to like the washroom or a public or a private area, and I would just try to avoid it. And then vice principal would find out, and then fucking all of that stuff. But the more and more this happened, the more opportunities, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking snitch on this guy. He decided to snitch on me. I may as well get him back. So there came this one moment where I was just so sad about like how life was currently going at the moment, especially school and all that, because I was heartbroken over the girl. Like all of fucking John's friends were taking his side because they heard about what happened about the problem between me and him, and I could not say anything I said. They just wouldn't take my word for it. You know, they would always fucking find their way to take John's side. So nothing I said in my defense was worthy enough to be seen as like innocent, if that makes sense. And then I remember I posted something on my private story. I think it was like a heartbreak TikTok because of like over like the girl. And then John fucking replies to it and says she never fucking liked you anyway. And then it just became a whole argument about the girl that I was sad over. And then he switches the topic over to Ben. He was like, bro, stop fucking telling Ben. I'm actually gonna beat the fuck out of him. You could screen record this voice message all you want. I'm gonna find him and I'm gonna fuck him up and all that. And he still believed that I had something to do with it. So that's why he was like, you know, crashing out like that. And so it turned into another argument. But with the evidence I had that or actually, sorry, let me backtrack a bit. So after arguing a little bit, he adds me to the group chat with all the boys from my grade. And all of them were just ripping on me, saying like I'm fucked up for, you know, Ben doing the shit to his mom and ordering the pizzas, and you know and John was calling me a pussy, saying he was gonna beat me up to steal all my stuff, whatever. And I just didn't say anything because you know why? I thought to myself, I'm gonna fucking snitch on him. I'm gonna take my opportunity and tell on him for this. And so I went and I told on him, and she had my side on this one. They read the whole group chat. They noticed that I didn't provoke them because I didn't, and I was innocent. And so they talked to him, to John, and I believe he got in trouble. And then I remember John would always have a couple more instances in class where he would try and fuck with me, and every single one, I would just snitch on him, dude. I would just snitch on him because I was like, you know what? He snitched on me for something I didn't even do, so I'm gonna get him back. And so it got to a point where I did it so much to the point where I just stopped seeing him come to school. Or like he one time did message me, being like, okay, like he one time messaged me saying like he wants to just be innocent and like have a talk, like a private talk at school. I wasn't buying it. I snitched on him, and then he fucking got angry. He was like, bro, stop telling on me for everything I'm doing. I'm sorry. Oh, this and that. Like, it sounded like he was trying to truce or something. But I wasn't buying it. I'm like, oh, nah, bro. This is how you wanted to go about it. This is how we're going about it. And it got to a point where he would message me, be like, bro, I fucking hate you and all this and that. And I just wouldn't respond to it. And then he just stopped coming to school entirely. My guess is he probably either couldn't come to our school anymore, because I remember like a while ago I heard from our friends that he had to do like a 4 credit co-op to graduate, but I don't know how true it is. And even though I got my piece, it did come with a lot of other negative, or not a lot, but it did come with one negative factor, that being my whole grade turning on me, seeing me as like a snitch, just because I told on him, even though he's the one that originally told on me for some shit I didn't do. And I thought that was bullshit. But you know what? It was my last year of high school. I figured I don't really need all these people anyway because, you know, frankly enough, I was I'm not trying to sound like all defeatist and sad here, but I was the outcast in high school. I never went to any parties. I never hung out with anyone outside of school. I never did shit. So it's not like I was going to care about these people later after high school anyway. So yeah, at the end, I kind of got my. I think I won at the end. He did like John stopped fucking with me, or because he couldn't come to our school anymore. So I'm not sure if that contributed to it, but I'm pretty sure it did, given the fact that he was a pretty big troublemaker back in high school. And as far as the girl I was sad over, I mean, I think that would be for a different story. But I just know I eventually moved on. And yeah, I think I won in the end, even though it came with some backlash. Who cares? Because I was at peace, finally, and it felt good. But yeah, I think that's the end of the story. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like the story, feel free to give it a like. Let me know other stories you guys have in the comments, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.